Hello, everyone. I hope you are well. It is Thursday. It is 11 a.m. That means it is What's Happening Now, UK Economy and Business Update. Thank you for joining me this week. As always, it is lovely to see you when you are here. Do let me know in the comments that you're watching. Give me a hello. Give me some thumbs up, some hearts, some likes, some love, some shares, all those good things on whichever platform you happen to be tuning in to today. I do, as always, appreciate your time and appreciate you tuning in with me. Now, of course, this is my UK economy and business live update, where we basically cover off what has been happening within the last 7 days. So what has been happening in the business world, in the economy of the UK in the last 7 days? This happens every Thursday at 11 a.m. So do make sure you mark it in your diaries if you've not caught it before. And if you are new to me, my name is Annette Ferguson. I am CEO of Annette & Co, UK-based accounting firm. I am a chartered accountant, certified profit first professional, and a small business growth strategist. And fundamentally, we help business owners take home more money from their business for them and their families to enjoy. So I've got a few bits that I am going through today. Of course, as always, I have written notes on what I am covering off. So I will be looking up and down between those to make sure that I have covered off everything that I want to cover off in today's session. So let me just pull up my notes that I prepared earlier. Here we go. So the first thing I want to speak about is, again, interest rates. We spoke about interest rates again in the past few weeks. We've spoken about interest rates because they are, of course, pretty important at this point in time. Interest rates are always more important when they are going up. So we're going to look at interest rates again today. And arguments are being made by some to actually hold interest rates and not put them up again. The vast majority of inflation, it is argued, has been caused by higher energy and import prices. And therefore, it's been argued that actually there is evidence that there is weak consumption, and therefore that inflation should still fall. However, future markets are currently pricing in a jump in interest rates to just above 4.6% by December. So at the start of February, rates were expected to peak around about the current level of 4% and then fall slightly to the end of the year as investors were worried about the UK was heading into a recession. Although headline inflation remains in double digit, domestic core inflation, which basically strips out the volatility of food and energy prices, that has declined more than forecast to 5.8% in January from 6.3% the previous month. So that sounds pretty positive. And business surveys for February, by contrast, showed faster than expected pickup in activity. So Andrew Bailey, who is the governor of the Bank of England, has pushed back again this week against a rapid shift in expectations, arguing that the central bank had moved away from a presumption that more rate increases were required. His comments did lead to a small decline in rate expectations, but traders nevertheless are betting that the Bank of England has become far more hawkish than it was a month ago. So it's a little bit of a watch this space there on interest rates. We're hoping that they don't continue to skyrocket upward. It looks like they probably won't. We're there or thereabouts potentially in terms of where we're headed with interest rates. Now, if you just bear with me a second, because I'm just going to turn my heater off because it's getting warm. There we go. So the next thing I want to look at is Jeremy Hunt is allegedly set to unveil budget tax breaks for business investment. So the Chancellor, it has said, will use next week's budget to set out new capital allowance regimes for businesses. Capital allowances are the the tax claims that you can basically make when you purchase assets. And the purpose of this is to offset a sharp rise in corporation tax and the end of the super deduction tax break for investment. The super deduction has been in for a couple of years. Remember, that was the 130% allowable tax deduction for the purchase of assets that has been happening. So other Conservative MPs have urged Hunt to be bold and unveil tax cuts to offset the headwinds caused by the increase in corporation tax from 19 to 25% in April. Now, remember, that is not for all businesses. If your profit is under 50,000, then you will still pay 19% corporation tax. If your profit is above 250,000, you will pay 25% corporation tax. And if you're in between, you will pay an in-betweeny rate of corporation tax. So, as I said, Conservative MPs have urged Jeremy Hunt to be bold, even if the fiscal situation is tight. But Hunt has consulted a range of reforms to actually replace the super deduction scheme for a capital investment scheme of some description. He recently told business groups that the new tax regime would not be anything like as generous as, and I quote, eye-wateringly expensive as the one it replaces, i.e. the super deduction scheme. So Hunt's consultation is included full expensing, which would allow all qualifying capital expenditure to be written off in the year it's purchased. That wouldn't actually be that much better for the Treasury in general. So business groups actually expect a more modest reform of capital allowances in the budget and possibly some kind of phasing over a few years as well. The Treasury, of course, at this point has declined to comment on tax measures in the budget, but Hunt had previously said that any money available for tax cuts on the 15th of March would be prioritized for business rather than for individuals. So that's something to bear in mind as we head towards that date. Now, the next thing I want to cover off is the UK businesses urge energy watchdogs to act on suppliers' bad behaviour. So a leading business group has called for the UK energy regulator to take urgent action against providers that are found to be mistreating business customers, as high gas and electricity costs continue to put many small companies at risk of collapse. The Institute of Directors has urged Ofgem to secure a well-functioning market for non-domestic customers after a poll of its members found that about 1 in 5 had been subject to at least some form of negative behavior from their energy supplier. So the most common problems cited by the 1,000 small business leaders that were surveyed in January include demands for a larger share of the bill to be paid in advance, a refusal to negotiate payment terms, and a refusal to renew contracts. Other Institute of Director members pointed out failures to process refunds and communicate increases to tariffs, as well as moves by suppliers to bill them every month rather than every 3 months, which is traditionally done in a business setting, whilst noting that their energy costs also remained double what they were a year ago. On a separate Institute of Directors survey assessing optimism around business leaders for the UK's economic prospects, more than 40% cited the cost of energy as one of the main negative issues facing their organizations. And this, by the way, isn't just in relation to the energy cost the business has to pay, because the cost of energy impacts many people's customers as well. So if you are running a business where the cost of energy is impacting your customers, either your B2B customer or indeed a B2C customer who then has less money to spend with you, that is a problem as well. So this is not just for impacting businesses who are purely businesses that operate under bricks and mortar and therefore are required to shell out an energy cost. This may also impact you if you have a home-based business that is then dealing with people who are impacted by these energy issues too. So the next thing I want to cover off is the question, is a recession necessary? Now, this might seem an odd question because I'm not asking you if a recession is likely. I'm asking, is a recession necessary? Because it has been argued that a recession is necessary in the UK to drive away inflation, that we actually need to go into recession in order to fix the inflation problem. And if that's the case, then the question becomes, well, is it actually necessary still, given what's happening at this point in time? So the answer to that question entirely relies on the trajectory of inflation as it stands. And in the UK, there is less than convincing evidence that inflationary pressures have peaked. So we may very well not be at the worst place we can be when it comes to inflation, because wage growth continues to push northwards. Business confidence has been boosted by the fall in gas prices, but UK policymakers still have a lot of work to do, as this may add to underlying inflationary pressures. The Bank of England may or may not raise interest rates to further keep the activity weak until inflation subsides. So overall, it's believed that when we look at a global recession, that we won't have a deep global recession, as was previously discussed. However, it looks like the UK is still very much teetering on the edge there, and actually may still need to go into recession in order to keep inflation down, given what we're seeing around everything else, like wage growth, for example. So it's still, unfortunately, a watch this space on that, on whether or not we do officially end up in recession. So next thing that's going to impact business owners. This has not been agreed. It has not been approved. This is currently in the discussion phases, and this is around employee pensions. So if you have employees that you are required to make pension contributions into their pension plans, this is for you, because the government on Friday confirmed support for a proposal, just a proposal at this stage, to lower the age at which employees become eligible for automatic enrollment into their company pension scheme from 22, as it is currently, to 18. So under an employee pension scheme, a minimum of 8% of an employee's pensionable salary must be paid into their retirement pot every month. Of that, at least 3% comes from the employer, while the rest is made up from contributions from the employee and tax relief. So what that means for business owners is, if, and it's still an if at this stage, but if this gets approved, goes into law, that means that you are going to have to pay out employers' pension contributions over and above what you do now, because you'll have to do it for those that are 18 up to 22. So you'll have a lower age that you're going to have to start contributing to your employees' pension schemes. That's going to be a pure cost to your business, because the employer's contribution is a pure cost. It doesn't come out of the employee's wage or anything like that. But on top of that, as well as extending the access to auto enrollment in terms of age, proposals are also being put forward to remove what is called the lower earnings limit, whereby pension contributions are calculated only on the portion of salary above £6,240 a year. So what they're saying is that they want contributions to start from the first pound that an employee earns, which again means that there will be more for the company to pay in employers' pension contributions, because it will start at a lower rate. You won't get any sort of allowed earnings to happen before the company has to start contributing as well. So this is important to just bear in mind at this stage. Nothing is in law at this stage. Nothing has been written in. These are just proposals at this point in time. But keep an eye out for this, because if this does start to get introduced, you're going to have to rework some of your forecasts and budgets, because this is going to be a pure cost to the business. So it's important to understand that. And so everything we've been discussing really leads us on to the question of, are we getting tax cuts in the spring budget? Well, we've already mentioned that we may get some tax allowances in terms of capital allowance regimes, but we are getting the 130% super deduction taken away. So whether you deem that as a positive or a negative is certainly a matter for debate. The Chancellor has been handed draft forecasts by the UK fiscal watchdog showing the economy will barely meet his fiscal rule to have public debt as a share of output falling in 5 years' time. So, this prediction severely impairs the Chancellor's ability to consider MPs' demands for big and immediate tax cuts in the budget. But the Chancellor has urged MPs to be patient, and he says he hopes to start the process of tax cuts, particularly for business, in his autumn statement, by which point he hopes to have a better outlook on the public finances. One government insider has said, "We were hoping a recent positive economic news would give us extra room for maneuver this time, but it hasn't quite happened." So, despite some positive moves, it does not look like we're going to be singing from the rooftops, running small businesses come the 15th of March when the spring budget is announced. But there is a little bit of a watch this space for the autumn budget. But of course, that entirely depends on how the economy is running at that point in time. So thank you everyone for tuning in to the what's happening now, our UK economic and business update. It is always lovely to see people here. Remember, if you are tuning in, do give me some hearts, some likes, some love, some shares, some thumbs up, all those good things on whichever platform you happen to be watching on. Does mean a lot, and it's incredibly helpful to us as well. So back again, same time next week, same time, same place, similar discussions, where I'll be filling you in on what's been happening over the last week. If you enjoy my lives, I am also live on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. for Training Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, let me look up and check what my topic is for this coming Tuesday. How to create a budget. We are speaking about this coming Tuesday. So mark your diaries for 11 a.m. and I will see you wherever you happen to be watching today. I will see you live there as well. So again, thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next week, if not on Tuesday. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.